A very good morning and welcome to Captain de Fagne in Marienborg in southern Belgium for the season opener for the Rotax Max Challenge Belgium. This also forms part of the Benefit League, which takes place over the course of the 2025 season. We're here at this fantastic 1,366 metre circuit, which really is about momentum. It's about carrying the speed through the corners, and there you see the through our drone shots that were recorded in the build-up to this event. Very, very fast-flowing, very, very committed circuit that you need to be at here at Captain de Fagne. It's a circuit that I've come to love and appreciate over the past few years throughout my European travels, but it is going to give us close quarter, hard-fought, elbows-out racing over the course of the weekend. We've got 20 races to take place. We've got all the members of the respective Rotax racing family, and also because this is also in association with Chrono Karting, we also have KZ2 and KZ2 Masters in action. And once more, the sun is on our side at the moment, 10 degrees air temperature, and here is the track itself. Marienborg, a famed circuit that has hosted many a competition. Clockwise direction, and track distance totals, as you can see, 1,366 metres. Quite a few corners here as well, but more to the point, a couple of corners that do have specific names. 14 turns in all. Turn 6, known as Chemin de Fer, and then when you hit turn 8, you go into the Escargot section, known in English as Snail. But it is a very, very fast track. Speeds with the KZ2s will be hitting about 140 kilometres an hour in 6th gear. And more to the point, well, this means that for RMC Belgium, with regards to the drivers that are licensed through the Belgian ASN, the Royal Automobile Club of Belgium, what we have on offer at the season finale at Karting Genk in the on the 18th and 19th of October, we will have 6 respective champions crowned, but also 5 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals tickets available. That will be for Minimax Rookie, and the winner of that, as in the highest RACP nominated driver, will get a Micromax ticket. But the very first go up to our first race. It's going to be Mini and Mini Rookie heat up here at Marienborg. All heats this morning will take place over a 7-minute plus an additional lap duration. So the calendar is as follows: the 22nd to the 23rd of March here at Captain de Fagne. Then the next 2 rounds will be hosted at the Home of Champions. 10th to the 11th of May will be round 2. That will be run under the governance of Chrono Karting, our friends from the RMC Netherlands, run by Gabby and Ton van der Burgt. That will be run under their governorship. And then, of course, we'll head back to the Home of Champions on the 18th and the 19th of October. So the tickets will be available. For a Micromax ticket will go to the Minimax Rookie Champion. Minimax, the highest placed RACB licensee, will get the ticket. Same for juniors, same for seniors and for DD2. DD2 Masters, no grand final ticket is available. So the format for today: we'll have all our respective heats up until the lunch break, which is set to take place at around about 1 o'clock local time here, CET. And then we'll go into the pre-finals. Seniors, however, different bit of a proposition. We had 44 drivers in qualifying this morning, 2 groups respectively. So each driver out of the 44 will compete in 2 heats. The top 30 will then go through into the top 36 final. And there we see one of our drivers giving us, that's Mick Klinkers in the 104, driving on the Tony Kart chassis, and just behind on the OTK, adorned with a sticker kit from Bouvin Power, Liern Herboz from Belgium. Got a total of 21 drivers representing Belgium, Netherlands and Latvia. One of our drivers, the 113 of Matthijs Clever, comes to us from Belgium via way of Brazil. So, of course, there's a new driver from that the South American nation that has recently joined the Formula One grid. The band that in the last couple of years took the FIA F2 and F2 titles, F3 and F2 titles, now running alongside Nico Hülkenberg at Kick Sauber, Gabriel Bortoletto. So 1 minute to go until we get the racing underway. There is Matthäus. was waving at our mobile camera earlier on during qualifying, but look, you can see the smile and the spark in the eyes there. Running on the TB kart is Mateus, and then just in front is Maxime Ramboa on the number 80 Formula K. Also be having a special guest in the commentary box a little bit later on, specifically for KZ2. There's Mateus. Oh, sorry, that's Maxime Ramboa. Wonderful to see the drivers having their respective identities through the race helmets they have. So, green light at the end of the dummy grid, and we are going to get set and ready for our first heat for the season opener for Rotax Max Challenge Belgium for 2025. It's Mini and Mini Rookie. Let's take you through the starting grid. So, starting from pole position will be the 126 of Jeff Verbeek. We'll be joined by the Netherlands' Mick Klinkers on the front row. Matthias Verreken and Leon Herboz will round out row 2. Ryan Rampadana, moving up to Mini from Mini Rookie, now moves to the inside of row number 2. Row number 3 will be joined by Falcon Racing's Belgian hotshot Lewis Boots on row 3. Jesse Moonen and Tristan Abiels will be on row 4 with Victor Oitz and Tren van Malik completing your top 10. Jara Kivitsbosch and Klaus Hans round out row 6. Laurens van Vlaanderen and Tycho Holthausen make it an all-Dutch row 7. Noah Stehouder and Sasha Al-Jabrail round out row 8 with Levi Phillips, Ivo Os, Maxime Ramboa, Dan Hillen and Matthäus Clever completing your 21-strong grid. So, good to see that we've got Joep van der Velde, Adrian Martins and Kevin Stales sending their best wishes. I think Joep van der Velde might be talking about Rima Blanc. There is your starting grid as they go onto the official formation lap here at Captain Defagne. And a big thank you to Thierry Lequin and his crew for allowing us to host the season opener here at this wonderful circuit. Always a pleasure to come here to Marienborg, but now it's going to be down to Jeff Verbeek and Mick Klinkers. We're now running down towards turn 6, known affectionately as Chemin de Fer. The good thing is the mini rookies always get into order very, very quickly. That's what we do like to see. But the drivers are primed and ready. The red lights are ignited on the starting gantry here ahead of 7 minutes plus an additional lap. The points will be scored in the finals only. So a revision of the points for 2025. Of course, the Benefit League takes place over 2 rounds this year. So one at Marienborg, one at Genk. And then it's always a nice bit of another bit of competition for national pride within the Benelux region. So the drivers now about to make their way through turn number 12 here at Captain Defagne International Raceway. So it is going to be Verbeek and Klinkers on the front row of the grid. 21 drivers set and ready under starters orders for the first time in the 2025 season. They've been competing everywhere else, but now this is a bit of national prize. So the lights do not go out, I think. No, that was a bit of a false start. So we are going to go round again. They're going to put them onto another formation lap. So the red lights did not extinguish on that particular occasion. So the nerves are already started to set in, and we've not even gotten our way into the first race of the weekend. Nevertheless, it just gives the opportunity for the drivers to calm themselves a little bit. There's adrenaline coursing vicariously through their veins at this moment. So Jochen DRS, what track is this? Captain Defagne. It is based in southern Belgium. We're around about 15 minutes from the the Franco-Belgian border. So literally, you can leave the circuit, turn right out of the main gates, go onto the main auto route, turn right, and 10 to 15 minutes later, you are in France. So the drivers now getting a little bit more settled. They're heading out of Chemin de Fer and into Escargot once again. So it's Verbeek and Klinkers on the front row. Verreken, Herbos, row 2. Rampedareth and Boots, row 3. Moonen, Abiels, Reutz and Van Melk. That is your top 10. So they will have an opportunity to get themselves into formation, and once everything looks good in the eyes of race director Manuel Branco, who is overlooking proceedings and his crew, then we will be allowed to go racing. I think that, well, that was Lewis Boots, I think, telling a couple of drivers just... No, it wasn't Lewis Boots. It might have been Tristan Abiels, possibly. Telling the drivers behind, just slow down a little bit. We want to go racing. So they are going to go up the hill, out of turn number 12 into turn 13. Now this kind of chicane you can really take at full throttle. As Verbeek and Klinkers on the front row. Will we go green this time? Revs up. Lights on. And the lights are out. We are underway. Green flag racing. And once more, well, there's a little bit of 2 and 8. Oh, and over the back bumper goes somebody else. Oh, that might have been possibly Klaus Hans in the 169 Esprit chassis. Oh, and 2 have already gone off and one's gone spinning. That was the 128 going round. Sasha Al-Jabrail on the Haza chassis, but they come through sector number 1, and it's Mick Klinkers leading the way. Got the jump on Jeff Verbeek. So a great job there by Mick Klinkers on the Tony Kart chassis. And they go through Chemin de Fer and through in towards the kind of piff-paff section here into Escargot. You've really got to be calm on both the throttle application and also the brakes. As Mick Klinkers looks over the right shoulder through turn number 12, they go up the hill. Now this is where you are flat to the floor on that right pedal. They come across the line very shortly, and it's going to be side by side a little bit further back. Jeff Verbeek goes for the lead and takes it very, very quickly. And there is Matthias Verreken. Verreken's gotten through, and so is Lewis Boots. So Mick Klinkers, through one corner, has lost 3 positions. And it's down to 4th. Has got Leon Herbos in the 198 on his case. Through into turn 4 at a big breakneck round of speed. And Jeff Verbeek took the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 1.117 by the 128 from Belgium. He leads the field here on lap number 2 of the race. The gap between first and second, about 2.5 tenths. Now in sector 3, that would have been, they would have entered that halfway through the Escargot section. And now up the hill again we go. And Verbeek is trying to stretch a little bit of a lead. And across the line we go. Lap 3 now underway. So Verbeek, Verreken and Boots round out your top 3. Covered by 1/10.5. Mick Klinkers is there in the fight. Leon Herbos, in the meantime, has got through on Tristan Abiels. That is for 5th position. And is there going to be a possible dive up the inside into Chemin de Fer by the 109 of Tristan Abiels for Dams Racing? Not quite. But great close quarter combat between the Mini and the Mini rookie drivers. Maxime Rambert, who started on the inside of row 10, now has made up 5 places, and is the only Mini rookie driver in this class. Is up to 14th. Ryan Rampedareth gets through on Trent Van Melk, and a dive bomb by Tristan Abiels up the inside of Leon Herbos, who drifts wide coming out of turn 1, and Abiels gets through. That is a change for 5th on the road. Rampedareth is looking very racy. Tristan Abiels, fastest lap of the race, 59.294 seconds by the youngster from Belgium. Lewis Boots now giving Matthias Verreken something to think about on the run down towards turn 6 at Chemin de Fer. So we're past the halfway point of this race. And there is still plenty of time to go. Now, even though Jeff Verbeek has a lead of about, well, what was less than a tenth of a second last time out, that could get ever closer still, because Matthias Verbeek and Lewis Boots will have the slipstream. And Boots will have a double toe coming up the hill. 71 thousandths cover the top two. And Verbeek was looking to go a bit deeper into the corner, switch to the outside. Is he going to try and open the door here at turn two? He gave it a shot but couldn't make it work. Lewis Boots in the meantime is holding on, keeping the pair of them in front very, very honest as they storm through turn four. And 5, now the run to 6 into Chemin de Fer. Again, Matthias Verbeek keeping the back bumper of the 154 as wide as humanly possible. And we've got 30 plus KZ2 carts on the track a little bit later on at about 12, just before 12 past 10. Well, 10 past 12 local time. That is going to be a completely different situation at all. We have got yellow flags out, however, briefly. So someone might have had a little bit of a drama. Matthias Verbeek through on the beginning of lap 5, gets through on Jeff Verbeek at turn 1. Verbeek responds, dives up the inside, retakes the lead through turn 2. Tren van Melk has just been given a warning flag. Nick Klinker's closing in on Lewis Boots. Boots is going to try and look to the inside at turn 4. Here on Matthias Verbeek and dives through with absolute precision. My goodness me. But then that just goes to show how quickly things can change. Verbeek got a fright. Boots went, right, hold my beer. Well, hold my soft drink, actually, based on the age of these drivers. Got through. And Verbeek still had the presence of mind to compensate and get through back for second place at turn 5 on the run to Chemin de Fer. But that has allowed Jeff Verbeek to open up the gap ever so slightly. And it's now nearly 0.3 of a second as we head on to lap number 7 of this race. So 6 laps in the books. More to the point, incredible work by Jeff Verbeek just to keep himself nice and calm at the front end of the field. Run his own race, let the others behind him go hammer and nails, go toe to toe, elbows out and sharpened. But we are getting very close to the end of this first race of the 2025 Rotax Max Challenge Belgium season here at Marienborg. And Jeff Verbeek is doing a stellar job. Got the wind put up his sails by Mick Klinkers on the run down to turn 1 on the opening lap of this race. This is going to be very, very close to the wire. It is going to be, well, he crossed the line. Right. Black and white warning flag has now gone to the 112 of Nora Stehalder. So last lap is underway. And Matthias Verbeek says to Jeff Verbeek, come on, just push forward. Don't look at me, look in front and get going. Matthias Verbeek, new fastest lap of the race, 59.138. We are running out of corners, however. And Verbeek could try and throw a possible haymaker up the inside through at turn number 12. But he's got to get the run coming out of this final couple of right-handers and then up the hill. But at this point, it is showing final lap. I think they crossed it with nothing to spare. So across the line they go. So it is, well, it is the case of, on this front, I'm seeing final lap shown on the start-finish straight. And the checkered, well, I think it has been reset to the last lap. They literally crossed it with nothing to spare. It was fractions of a second, if that. So the checker flag is being prepared, so the drivers have seen the final lap board. So this is the last lap of the race. and Matthias Verreken knew that there was going to be a possibility of maybe an additional lap. They got across the line with absolutely nothing to spare. Checkered flag is now being prepared. And Jeff Verreken looks over the right shoulder very, very briefly. Up the hill we go for the final time. And from pole position to checkered flag, it is going to be by a whisker, but it's going to be a photo finish. Jeff Verreken takes the win after 9 laps of racing. And well, that was unexpected there. That was Tristan Abeels having Ryan Rampadarath over his back bumper after the finish line. I think they were quite close. Yeah, well, it was actually Rampadarath over the back bumper of Tristan Abeels as they came out of the chicane. And there were 2 that were up the inside that went past on the inside line. So that, unfortunately, cost the pair of them. Jeff Verreken, however, takes the first win of the championship season here for Rotax Max Challenge Belgium at Marienburg by 0.105 of a second ahead of Matthias Verreken. Lewis Boots completes the top 3 ahead of Leon Herboz. Victor Reutz finished 5th, having started 9th ahead of Tristan Abeels, who completes the top 10. Well, Tristan Abeels' cart is going to have to be recovered, I'm afraid, after that rear bumper mounting by Ryan Rampadarath. Abeels and Rampadarath take 6th and 7th. Ahead of Mick Klinkers, who was leading the race at one point, would eventually drop to finish 8th ahead of Jara Kivitsbosch. Klaus Hans, Levi Phillips, Noah Steyhouder, Jesse Munin, Stan van Melk, Tiger Holthausen, Lawrence van Vlaanderen, Sasha Algebrail, Ivo Os, Maxime Ramboer, Matthias Clever, and Dan Heelan. So, for those watching at home, having a look at some of the replays, and this was seeing the likes of Mick Klinkers in the 104. There was the moment when Tristan Abeels got through on Leon Herboz, and then this was the point when Jeff Verreken got through on Matthias Verreken in the dying stages of the race with about 3 laps to go. Reed took the race lead. Lewis Boots kept the pair very, very honest indeed. Some great battling. Verreken would then retake the lead through the same corner, so Boots on the other foot, so to speak. But it would be Jeff Verreken that would then make the move through here at turn 2 and carry that momentum through the corner and kept in the slipstream of Matthias Verreken, but Lewis Boots would then go on to take the win. It might have been just over a 10th, but you know what they say, winning is winning. But to finish first you must finish. Well, next up we go from Mini Max and Mini Max Rookie. As up next, it's our first of the Senior Max competitive races. It's Groups B versus C up next. So the recovery vehicle has now brought Tristan Abeels' slightly damaged cart back into parc fermé conditions. And, well, there we have our drivers. There is the 399 Mateo Radenkovic. Follow this young man's career since he was a junior European Rotax champion. He's also won B&L titles, but now he is no longer with Berger Bouvin. He's with Jan Dams and his crew at Dams Racing, and has really shown great prowess and has competed against the very best in continental Europe and also the United Kingdom quite recently in the Champions Winter Trophy, the B&L Karting Series, and has a new lease of life for his respective journey within the world of karting. Of course, the senior Rotax drivers aged 14 and above, and will be running on the Mojo D5 CIK slick tyres. 44 drivers here this weekend. The top 30 after the 3 respective heats have been carried out will go to the top 36 final at just after 5:30 this afternoon. The final 6 for that grid will be decided through the second chance at 3:35 p.m. this afternoon. But here we go. It's qualifying Heat B versus C for senior Rotax, and here is your starting grid. The opening row, well, Benjamin Van Hees, fastest in Group 1. He'll start from pole position. Radenkovic will join him on the front row. Thijs van Wijk and Robbie Stauder, row 2. Ollie Jonkers and Krik Noren round out row 3 ahead of Neil Hendricks and Francis Ryan-Bourguignon. Sam Bergstein and Felipe Valk, another driver from the Netherlands. Well, a driver from the Netherlands also representing Brazil. Round out your top 10. Sverre Ubben and Mitch Haynett round out the next row ahead of Ruben Verheyen and Colombia's Martin Herrera. Drivers of note from that nation, Juan Pablo Montoya and Tatiana Calderon. Mathis Turlo and Sebastian Koch round out the next row ahead of Ralph van der Pavet and Kevin Navis. Dylan Hummel and Jay Zurveld, mechanics this weekend by the legendary Red Actions, aka the man who won the Tillotson T4 Senior Nations Cup title last year in Valencia, Bram Ossevada. Flynn Fitters and Sim van Vliet next up ahead of Michael Petit and Rein van der Meer. Sven Slagmoller, Dominic Schapers, Reimer van Beek, Philip Wisniewski and Dylan LaHaye, a multi-time Senior Max B&L Karting Series champion, rounds out your grid. Very, very competitive drivers in this class. Air temperature has now gone up to 12 degrees Celsius, but there is a lot of cloud cover up ahead. There are some flashes of blue sky up above, but more to the point, it will give us an opportunity to see what happens next. And Bo Louette, a person who's qualified through the grand finals through this particular championship, joins us on the live stream. I hope you and your dad are keeping well. Bo now has moved on to become a Paralympic factory driver. So congratulations, Bo. Keep up the good work. We're cheering up for you as always, my friend. So good luck on that one. So 7 minutes plus an additional lap for our first of 3 Senior Max races. So it is going to be Van Hees and Radenkovic on the front row. Revs up, lights on. And the lights go out straight away. We're underway. Good start by the front row. Thijs van Wijk. Oh, and someone's gone spinning off backwards. And that is the 317. Robbie Stauder. I don't know what happened on there. He might have got a little bit of a touch from behind, but there's even more drama going into turn. Well, we've got yellow flags. Oh, a GKS car is off. Exit stage left at turn 2. We've got more dramas heading into turn 3. That is... Don't tell me that is not Sverre Ubben, please. So, more dramas for the drivers as they make their way through. We've got a couple of stragglers at the back end of the field, but, well, that just goes to show how quickly. And that is going to be Sverre Ubben, I'm afraid. The 346 is out early doors, and we have not even completed the opening lap. But look at the lead that Benjamin Van Hees has got. Neil Hendricks closing in on Matej Radenkovic for second position. Mathis Turlo has catapulted his way. Now, normally he qualifies pretty well, but he's had a bit of a shoddy qualifying this time. He's up 11 spots, currently runs P4. Ruben Verheyen up 8 spots, now running P5. Thijs van Wijk on the Sodi kart, running these days with Brother Yorts with Dan Holland Racing, is all up the inside. Oh, that's a bit of a clash there. Mathis Turlo. Oh no! And Neil Hendricks gets turfed off the circuit by Ruben Verheyen coming out of Chemin de Fer. I was waiting for when something was going to go a bit peaked on, and within the first lap and a half, we have had multiple incidents. Ollie Jonkers, Sebastian Koch, Flynn Fitters, Robbie Stauder, Martin Herrera have all hit trouble. And now that is Thijs van Wijk through on Ruben Verheyen. There's Sam Bergstein in the 319, run by his dad Morris. And Sam doing a very, very good job. Oh, well, now there's Mr. Mullet Man, Ralph van der Pavet. He's in the mix in this one as well. He started 17th, now P7. Sam Bergstein's going to go for the move up the inside through at Chemin de Fer, and that was an easy negotiated pass by Bergstein on Ruben Verheyen. Well, the cat has definitely been thrown amongst the senior Rotax pigeons today, let me tell you that much. I don't think it's going to be the last time we see anything like that. But up the hill we go, and Benjamin Van Hees has now had his lead truncated by Matej Radenkovic by over 3 and a bit tenths of a second. Gap now down to just under half a second. Thijs van Wijk and Sam Bergstein, the latter who just picks up the fastest lap of the race, 54.577 by the 3:19. They are battling tooth and nail over 4th and 5th respectively. Ruben Verheyen, Ryan Bourguignon, Ralph van der Pavet, Mitch Haynett and Kevin Navis ran out the top 10. Rein van der Meer up 13 spots from 24. Now runs 11th, head of Dylan Hummel, Sven Slagmoller, Felipe Falk. So Sverre Ubben out, Krit Knoren out. Sebastian Koch from Dams Racing is also out. So quite a lot of attrition in this opening heat as we are past the halfway point. Radenkovic now is within lunge range on Benjamin Van Hees for the race lead here in Senior Heat BC. And Radenkovic, new fastest lap of the race, 54.415. They go hurtling in, and look at that camera angle. You can just see the amount of speed they are carrying through at turn 4, into 6 at Chemin de Fer, through 7 and 8, the double left that leads them into Escargot. It's turn 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we've got 13 and 14 coming up very shortly. 2.5 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. Sam Bergstein is starting to get a move on. He's gone purple in sector number 2. Radenkovic moves to the right-hand side, and through he goes. No trouble at all for the 399 for Matej Radenkovic, young man from Belgium. Of course, got to know his dad Alex very, very well indeed. Serbian heritage, based on the surname. So you can see that there's a bit of controlled aggression that Matej can deploy at a moment's notice, but he leads as we are now on our 6th lap of racing. Ollie Yonkers, despite having started all the way up on the inside of row number 3, well, there were multiple incidents on that opening lap, and I'm sure that race control and the stewards will be quite busy looking into all of that accordingly. So 1.5 minutes to go, and Radenkovic starts to stretch out that lead. And just under 0.4 of a second. Highest recorded speeds at the moment, Ralph van der Pavet and Sam Bergstein. 117.2 kilometres an hour. So that's about 72 mph. That's basically slight. You could actually get away with driving that on a main motorway in the United Kingdom. 70 miles an hour is the speed limit, which works out to about, I think it's 112 kilometres an hour. So we're heading into the final 50 seconds plus an additional lap of this opening Senior Max heat. Juniors up next for their heat. That's Radenkovic now really starting to put the hammer down, and he's got over a half-second advantage. And, well, Sam Bergstein now up into P3, having got through on Mathis Turlo. Bergstein started 9th. Turlo started 15th. And we still have 25 of the 29 runners that started this race just over 8 minutes ago. We'll take the checkered. Timer is expired. Next time around, we'll be heading on to our final lap of this race. So lap 9. And Radenkovic, 7/10 ahead of Benjamin Van Hees with Sam Bergstein, Mathis Turlo, Thijs van Wijk. Running out your top 5 on a multitude of different chassis. So final lap underway. And Radenkovic leads by nearly 0.8 of a second. Felipe Falk now up into 11th place. The driver from the Netherlands by way of Brazil sets a personal best high speed across the line, 118.6 kilometres an hour. But the person that really has been, the minute he hit the front, he knew that he could pull away quite considerably. And that driver is the 399 from Dams Racing, Mateo Radenkovic, as he's going to make his way through in towards turn 8. Turn 9. Now into Escargot, turn 10, 11, then 12, and turns 13 and 14 as we go up the hill for the final times. The checkered flag is being prepared, and by a comfortable margin, up over the crest, it is going to be Radenkovic that wins. Second, it's going to be a photo finish, and it's Bergstein. Bergstein pulls it from Van Hees by 5 1/1000ths across the line. Oh, that was a great bit of driving there. Sam Bergstein got the run on Benjamin Van Hees up the hill. They were literally line astern, and Bergstein pulled to the right-hand side and nipped through by next to nothing. Probably the sticker kit was the deciding factor, but after 9 laps and just over 8.25 minutes of racing, 12.3 kilometres completed, Mateo Radenkovic is your race winner by over a second from Sam Bergstein. Benjamin Van Hees, Matheus Turlo, Thijs van Wijk, Ryan Bourguignon, Mitch Haynett, Ruben Verheyen, Kevin Navis and Felipe Falk ran out in the top 10. Ralph van der Pav at 11th ahead of Rein van der Meer. Dylan LaHaye started last, finished 13th. No surprise there. Dylan Hummel and Sveig Slagmoller ran out your top 15 ahead of Michael Petit, Steve van Vliet, Robbie Stoddard, Martin Herrera, Jay Zurveld, Raymer van Beek, Philip Wisniewski, Neil Hendricks, Win Fitters and Dominic Sheppers ran out your 25 finishes. Unfortunately, we lost Ollie Jonkers, Sebastian Koch, Craig Knurren and Sverre Ubben early in the race. That's it for senior road tax racing for the moment. But next up, we go into our qualifying heats for Junior Max. Up next. So we now focus our attention on one of the real foundation classes within the road tax racing family. There's Luca Van Leer for SR Solutions, the number 284, who's going to start on the outside of the front row. But we're going to have in this particular class 27 drivers that will take part in the qualifying heat, the pre-final and then also the final a little bit later on. The cloud cover has been brought across by the breeze that's going across the circuit, is still moving its way across. The drivers make their way out of the dummy grid ahead of their 7-minute plus an additional lap heat here at Captain de Fagne in Marienborg. Let's take you through the starting grid. So, following on from time qualifying this morning, Max Siderski starts from pole position. He'll be joined by Luca van Leer on the front row of the grid. Lieke van Berkel and AJ Berggraaf will be on row number 2. Lucas Stodder and Lars Lambers complete row 3 ahead of Thomas Verheyen and Boris Maximov, who complete row number 4. Tristan Shays and Jente Moonen complete the top 10 ahead of Bodien Blankenberg and Vince van der Halle. Boris Verhagen and Bram van der Weyke, they ran out row 7. Row 8 is Vic van Kampenhout and Devrim Jeter. Row 9, Germany's Kimi Mai, joined by the Netherlands' Lionel-Oliver Munguia. The top 20 completed by, from the Netherlands, Nick Bloemers, and from Belgium, Justin Fonk. With the 27 drivers completed by Tony van Neersen, Jord Drent, Willem Hauger, Nulden Engelsman, Sepp Terhorst, Vaughan Willems, and James van der Poel. Van der Poel, unfortunately, wasn't able to show the pace that the Stody kart had in time qualifying. However, the kart has made it onto the grid as we now head onto the official formation lap ahead of 7 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. And on cue, Patrick Verbist. I know you're going to be cheering on Bran van der Weyken. He's starting from the outside of row number 7 as the Genie Rotax drivers make their way through turn 13 and into 14. So, revs up, lights on. In the tram lines we go, and we go green. First time of asking. Around the outside tries to go Luca van Leer. Max Siderski holding on to that pole position and the race lead. There's everyone juxtaposing for position, but a big incident, and that is 2 karts together off the circuit. Lucas Stodder and AJ Berggraaf exit stage left off of turn 2. And I think it was basically that Stodder was the aggressor, caught the back end of AJ Berggraaf, was hooked in line and sinker, and the pair went flying off the circuit. And both karts not taking any further participation. And welcome along to the YouTube chat, Sem Knopfjers, last year's DD2 Chrono Karting Dutch champion. But for the moment, Max Siderski is going to be leading the way. Luca van Leer in second. Lieke van Berkel looked very, very razor sharp in qualifying, did she? And she's closing in on the 284 from SR Solutions. And through she goes. Bumps the curbing through turn 1. Van Berkel gets through on Van Leer. And now the chase to catch Mad Max Siderski up front is on. Boris Maximov up 4 places, now running P4. 5th is Thomas Verheyen, Bodien Blankenberg, Boris Verhagen, Vince van der Halle, Vic van Kampenhout, and Kimi Mai round out your top 10. So a lot of drivers moving up the order very quickly. But that was all through the incident between AJ Berggraaf and Lucas Stodder on lap 1 at the run down to turn 2. But it's getting a little bit closer between Siderski, Van Berkel and Van Leer. Maximov is chasing them down. Look at the peloton train behind them. There is probably going to be a cart train of at least. And here goes. Is this going to be a change for the lead? Van Berkel through. Van Berkel through on Swiderski. And still, even with the tail end stepping out a little bit, Van Berkel held on to the lead. Van Leer through at turn 2 on Swiderski for second position and now dives up the inside of the 285 as Lieke Van Berkel runs wide coming out of turn 3. Maximov dives up the inside through at 4. Great spatial awareness by the junior Rotax drivers at the sharp end of the field as now the battle really begins in earnest. But in the opening 2 laps, 3 different leaders. So now, Van Leer leads the way. Swiderski second. Third, Maximov. Up the hill we go again. And get this. The top 5 were covered by 8 tenths. They're now covered by 7.5 tenths. Thomas Verheyen is now behind Vince van der Halle. Van der Halle now running 5th. So this is going to be very, very crucial. What happens now is diving up the inside for second position on Max Swiderski. Oh, that was Maximov. And Swiderski instantly goes counter-defensive against Lieke Van Berkel. And now here goes Vince van der Halle. And Lieke Van Berkel held on. Oh, but she gets a tag from behind. Van der Halle's in the weeds at the moment, so to speak. Went for the move up the inside through at turn 5 on Lieke Van Berkel, and Van Berkel did not budge. Well, would you believe it? All the drivers that I've seen earlier on this season that have been at the sharp end of the field have just been given the biggest wake-up call and slap in the face with a wet fish that I think I've ever seen in European karting for a long, long time since I've been out here. I think since 2018. Van der Halle got a fright. Swiderski's now had a fright. Van Berkel said, right, here we go. Takes the race lead. Devin Mieta at the minute. Currently down in 18th place, just ahead of James van der Poel, who's moved up the order. Has got the fastest lap of the race. Max Swiderski trying to go toe-to-toe with Boris Maximov, but this is allowing the young hotshot from SR Solutions, run by Scott Swart, Lucan Van Leer, to get away. But Ian Blankenberg gets a warning flag from race control in the 2-2-1, obviously for potential unsportsmanlike conduct or driving standards. Now this is how a championship starts in earnest. Fireworks aplenty. The top 3 come across the line to complete lap 5, and they are covered by 5.5 tenths. Then it's a further 1.4 seconds back to Lieke Van Berkel. Vince van der Halle has moved up 6 places. So is Boris Verhaag. Kimi Mai up 9 spots. Vic van Kampenhout up 6. Boris Maximov, new fastest lap of the race, 55.929. And Maximov is being pressurised by Swiderski. So 1 minute and 41 seconds to go, plus an additional lap, as the top 3 make their way through into the escargot section. There is going to be a lot of things seen and investigated, I would imagine, judging by just what we've had in the opening couple of races for senior and junior. They really have brought the fire and brimstone to the racetrack this weekend, but it's just a sign of competitive nature. Drivers are here to win. They're not here to play second fiddle to anybody else. Leaders make their way through turn 3. Now it's the short shoot up to the 90 left here at turn 4, where you are carrying speed. You are not lifting off that throttle if you dare. And now it's down to Chemin de Fer at turn 6. Swiderski trying to do the old switchback on Maximov, but at the moment not quite working. He's going to have to wait for his opportunity. Next time around we'll have 2 more laps to go. And well, the gloves are very much truly off this season in this early stage of the competition. And we've still got until the 18th and 19th of October. That's a little way away when you think about it. 2 laps to go. Maximov pulls the pin and gets through on Van Leer. Swiderski quickly follows in the slipstream and retakes that second position. But do not count Van Leer out by any stretch of the imagination. Van der Halle, new fastest lap of the race 55.763. As the timer hits 0, our leaders now making their way down towards and going into Chemin de Fer for the penultimate time. And Van Leer swarming all over the back bumper of Swiderski, which is giving the 297 from SP Motorsport the hurry up as Swiderski through an escargot dives up the inside, and Van Leer tries to go around the outside through out of the exit of escargot on Maximov, loses all that momentum, and that brings Lieke van Berkel into the mix for possibly third at the finish. 1 lap to go, Swiderski leads, and his lead now is 0.5 of a second. Maximov second, Van Leer, Van Berkel, Van der Holle, Mai, now Kimi Mai. Das kann nicht wahr sein, as they would say in Germany. That's not possible. Well, it is with Kimi Mai. Up 11 places, now runs 6th. Now Van Leer looking over the right shoulder to see where Lieke van Berkel is. Van Berkel hit the brakes coming into the approach into Chemin de Fer. The back end stepped out to the right hand side, but Van Berkel neatly controlled it. Van der Holle is waiting to strike. Through out of escargot they come for the final time. And Max Swiderski will lead them through into turn 12, then up the hill through turns 13 and 14. And the first win in the Junior Max category for this season goes to Max Swiderski from SP Motorsport. And was that Lieke van Berkel for third across the line? It was! Swiderski takes the win. Maximov P2. Oh, bit of sidewall rubbing a little bit further back. Lieke van Berkel steals third place from Lieke van Leer by 3/1000ths of a second. I think that was a case of taking a page out of the playbook of one Sam Bergstein. Max Swiderski, after 8.5 minutes and 12.294 kilometres of racing, takes the win here in the Junior Max qualifying heat ahead of Royce Maximov, with Lieke van Berkel rounding out your top 3. Lieke van Leer, Vince van der Holle, Kimi Mai, Thomas Verheyen, Jens Moonen, Lars Lammers and Tristan Shays ran at your top 10. Adin Vankenberg, Nick Plumers, Devin Yater, Neil Hauger and Bran van der Weken ran at your top 15. Lionel Olivier Munguia, Tony Van Leersum, Justin Fonk, Jur Drent and James van der Poel ran at your top 20. And then Nuden Engelsman, Sepp Terhorst, Koen Willems, Boris Verhagen and Van Kampenhout rounding out your 25 finishers. And unfortunately, lap 1, turn 2, exit stage left for AJ Bergeraff and Lucas Storder directly into retirement. Well, that concludes the Junior Max qualifying heat. Next up, we go to DD2 and DD2 Masters for their qualifying heats up next. We now turn our attention to DD2 and DD2 Masters for their qualifying heats. And having a little bit of a chin wag before shaking hands, Lawrence Herboz and Vincent van Kerkhoven. Vincent was quickest in morning warm-up, but it was Nicolas Guillaume, the 444 for SP Motorsport, that would take pole position in the 5-minute qualifying session. We've got DD2 and DD2 Masters here all together. Wim Rouleau was the quickest in morning warm-up for the Masters class, but Christophe Adams, the man who is the most decorated Grand Finals competitor of all time, he's competed in 17 Grand Finals, actually switched to the E20 for Senior Masters just recently last year at Sarno. Of course, the Grand Finals head to the Persian Gulf and the Bahrain International Karting Circuit for the third time in 5 years, this coming late November to early December. A fantastic circuit that has proved to be a firm favourite with the Rotax racing family since its introduction in 2021 and became the first venue that would host qualifying heats under nightfall in the Grand Finals' illustrious history. So, 7 minutes plus an additional lap for DD2 and DD2 Masters as they exit the dummy grid and head out onto the circuit here in Marienborg. Nicolas Guillaume starts from pole position. He'll be joined by Lawrence Herboz on the front row. Len Nys and Vincent van Kerkhoven ran out row 2 with Mieke van der Pavert and Imke Arts completing row number 3. Wood Kirstens and Axel Hoes complete row 4 with Luca Neuenhausen and Jan de Brandt completing the top 10. And we've got Jesse Spans, Milan Vroom, Christophe Adams from DD2 Masters pole, Wim Rouleau, Gwen Blotsil and Von Wirt rounding out the drivers that are competing this race. Gwen Blotsil raced in Senior Rotax. She has now made the move up to DD2 for the 2025 season. Lawrence Herboz, I think, is going to be a bit of a dark horse. Has already shown that in the Champions Winter Trophy and the opening round of the BNL Karting Series, which took place a couple of weeks ago at the home of Champions. Karting Genk showed great pace in qualifying, great race pace as well. We all know that in the world of karting that with regards to qualifying, it doesn't always necessarily showcase how things will go. For those watching on the official BNL Karting Series YouTube channel, thank you so much for joining us. And there is your grid in full. So the red lights are ignited once again on the starting gantry here at the 1,366 metre 14-turn clockwise circuit. Sam, just to answer your question, it is heats, pre-final and final for all classes apart from seniors. But it's lights on, revs up, and the lights are out. We are underway, and straight away Len Nys tries to do a bit of a dive bomb and then some. And he's trying to go around the outside of Nicolas Guillaume going through into turn 2. Guillaume sternly defending the racing line. Herboz might be trying to dive bomb on the inside. Len Nys goes a little bit wide coming out of turn number 3. And straight away, he's the one that's just decided, I don't care about anybody else, I'm thinking of myself. Now, Len has raced in Rotax before. I still remember the days when he used to compete with a great battle between him and Thomas Strauver. If anyone might remember back at the first ever Rotax Max International Trophy at Le Mans, in 2018. So, after the opening lap, well, up the hill we go, and it is going to be very, very close between the top four, because Mika van der Pavet is at the back end of the quartet. Guillaume leads. Nyes and Herboz go through at turn 1, and Guillaume could lose third if he's not careful. And through goes van der Pavet. There's Vincent van Kerkhoven in 5th place on the number 483. So Nyes has the lead. Second is Herboz. Then it's van der Pavet. Then Guillaume. And van der Kerkhoven has, I think, was that in? Yes, that was a flash of a Team Netherlands set of overalls there. Imke Arts was trying to get through. So coming up to complete lap number 2 very shortly. Len Nyes will be our second different leader in as many laps as they go through 14. Up over the crest. Nyes. Is he going to keep it on the racing line? Yes, he will. Herboz decides not to go for it this time. Neither does Mika van der Pavet. Into turn 2. And now 3. Herboz gets through. Switchback. And sidewall clip on Herboz by Nyes. Herboz goes off. Exit stage right. Kicks up the dirt from the grass. Through goes van der Pavet. Through goes Guillaume. Van der Kerkhoven now 4th. And is going wheel to wheel with Herboz, and out of chemin de fer, Van der Kerkhoven holds his ground. And Wout Kirstens now in the 466 is making his presence pretty much felt here too. So Len Nyes trying to start to extend a little bit of a lead and an advantage over Mika van der Pavet, and that gap is just shy of 0.3 of a second. Guillaume a further 0.13 back. Van der Pavet goes purple sector 1. Imke Arts, the lady from the Netherlands, very, very quick DD2 driver, and she has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 54.351, and she's currently running 7th behind Wout Kirstens. See Vincent van Kerkhoven having a little bit more of lady luck on his side. So we are past the halfway point of this race, and Len Nyes, having taken the lead on the beginning of lap number 2, continues to hold on to it, but he is being chased down. Van der Pavet and Guillaume, P2, P3, Van der Kerkhoven. Kirstens now with the fastest lap of the race, with no purple sector across the board, but improvement over every sector. 54.139. Lawrence Herboz, Imke Arts, Axel Hoos, Jesse Spans, and Luca Neuenhausen round out your top 10. Christoph Adams battling away in the 555. He is just over 0.3 of a second ahead of chief rival Wim Rouleau. That's for 12th and 13th, but more importantly, that is also for the class lead in Masters. Guillaume de Brandt looks to have retired from the race in the 450, I'm afraid. Having started on the outside of row 5 in 10th place. Meantime, things are still very hot under the collar between the top 3. Nyes still leads, and there was that was telegraph there. Mika van der Pavet just saying to Nicolas Guillaume, right mate, looks like you're a little bit quicker than me, go for it. If you can catch up to him and pass him, I'll give you a lap or 2. So good inter-team work there between the 2 drivers from SP Motorsport. 2 minutes to go plus an additional lap. And Wout Kirstens now has made it through on Vincent van Kerkhoven. And they're nearly side by side. I think there was also Lawrence Herboz trying to go wheel to wheel with the driver from GKS Levens Power. But at the minute, well, Len Nyes is just calmly, comfortably getting on with the business at hand. Up over the hill they go. Another lap in the books. And that means we are now starting lap 7 of this race. Len Nyes is leading just over a quarter of a second. from Guillaume van der Pavert, and then Wood Kirstens, who has now the fastest lap of the race in the pocket. 54.139 for the 466. There's some of the new Nassau panels, the more aerodynamically beneficial ones. Aerodynamics are getting a bit more complex again, like they did a couple of years ago. If anyone might remember when we had the spate of the what we used to call the hot dog bun Nassau panel, where you could fit a hot dog in between the two sides of the plastic bun that was the Nassau panel. But 2 more laps to go, and Len Nyes still keeping that lead at about 2 3/4 tenths of a second. Guillaume and Mika van der Pavert holding on to second and third, still despite the best efforts of Wood Kirstens in the 466, just behind them. Kirstens having the fastest lap of this race so far. Imke Arts now through on Vincent van Kerkhoven, who has dropped now down to 7th on the road. 15 runners and riders still competing as the timer hits 0. Next time round it will be 1 more lap to go. Len Nyes brings us on to start the final lap of this race, and expands his lead over Guillaume to 3.5 tenths as Wood Kirstens finally manages to get the slipstream through. Yellow flags at Marshall Post 4. The briefest of moments, so no overtaking allowed at that point on the circuit. So whether someone had had a bit of a drama, not 100% sure. Nevertheless, the leaders come down to Chemin de Fer for the final time and then head their way through into Escargot. So Van der Pavert has an opportunity to get through on Wood Kirstens. This time the checkered flag will be prepared for our race winner. And he's going to very shortly come through turn number 12 up the hill through 13 and 14. And the winner in DD2 and Masters Heat is going to go the way of Len Nyes by just over 0.28 of a second. Nicolas Guillaume rounds out P2 ahead of Wood Kirstens, who finishes ahead of Mika van der Pavert. Lawrence Herbos rounds out your top 3. Imke Arts finished exactly where she started. 6th spot ahead of Vincent van Kerkhoven, who started 4th, finished in 7th. Good work by Jesse Spans in the meantime, the 418 up to 8th at the finish from 11th on the grid. Luca Neuenhausen 9th ahead of Milan Vroom, who rounds out your provisional top 10. Christoph Adams wins DD2 Masters by nearly a second ahead of Wim Rouleau. Gwen Bloxhill and Thorn Wirth are the final 2 drivers that managed to get to the checkered flag. Unfortunately, Axel Hoos out with 2 laps remaining, and Kian de Brandt, well, didn't make it that far past lap 3, I'm afraid, and would end up retiring. But Len Nyes and Christoph Adams provisionally win in the qualifying heat for DD2 and Masters. Next up, well, we go to Gearbox, and it's time for KZ2. The qualifying heat up very shortly with a packed grid. Now we go to one of the most demanding disciplines within modern day karting. We head to KZ2. Speeds at full chat, at full throttle in 6th gear at this circuit across the start-finish line. We'll see these drivers go in excess of 135 kilometres an hour. And from a standing start, these karts can go from 0 to 100 kph in about the same time as a Porsche Carrera 4S from a standing start, say 3.5 seconds. 6-speed shifter karts, so for the drivers, they have to pull the gear lever towards them. They do have to be pushed, as you're going to see very, very shortly, to get them started. There's no starter button like we have on the respective Rotax Max classes, as the recovery vehicle is going to make its way to its position just in front of the dummy grid. Having just brought another couple of carts back to Parc Fermé and for weighing and scrutiny and technical checks post-session. We've got this and 2 more races to go until we hit the lunch break. And then it's going to be a tight turnaround. And also going to be telling you folks that Joop Briefeld, who joined me in the commentary box for parts of the Chrono Karting Dutch Championship, will be joining me a little bit later on for the KZ2 pre-final and final later up here in the booth. He has also competed. He actually competed at the famed SCUSA Super Nationals in Las Vegas a couple of years back for PSL karting on the Birrell Arts. As the drivers and mechanics are getting under starters' orders. It's like everyone's about to try and... The mechanics are trying to sprint their way to bump start the karts. It's quite an impression. Oh dear, we got a little bit of love in the room because Sam Knopfler's BFF, Brandon Klein-Nagelvort, has jumped into YouTube chat. So we are literally just under 30 seconds away from these drivers being pushed to bump start the karts into life. And these karts will produce anywhere between 45 to 50 horsepower from the back axles. And there's so much torque going through the rear axles that they need to do the standing starts. And this is where you see cat-like reflexes at their very, very best when it comes to keeping your eyes on the light. So, time for bump starting ahoy here in the dummy grid. And Martin van der Sooy, the father of Tommy, nearly ends up going into the camera lens of our mobile camera guy, Luis, down on the ground from WFR. Big thank you to WFR Live TV for providing the streaming coverage for this season. But here is your grid, and it is a big one. Well, Thomas Sipers due to start on the inside of row 5, has not managed to get out of the dummy grid. But Jens Steur on the Crop Promotion chassis, he'll start from pole. Tommy van der Sooy, driver who's won micro and junior titles in the B&L karting series, now moves to KZ2, who's on the outside of row 1. Jeffrey Fixer and Kevin Stauhauer round out row 2. Daniel Tenbach and Milan van Vinden row 3. With Dirk van Zifthout and Renzo Alibaks rounding out row 4. Thomas Sipers is out on the circuit. He'll be joined by countrywoman Sita van Miert on the 5th row, completing the top 10. Maddox Wiertz and Julian Carmen row 6. Maurice Klein and Rick Mewis row 7. Oscar Steinbach and Armin Piela row 8. Eric Vess and Giovanni Vitavin row 9. Completing the top 20, Hjalte Burma and Frederick Zebis from Denmark. Completing the 33 strong grid. Yes, I'll say that again for good measure. 33 strong grid. Tim Schott, Kevin Wagner, Emmanuel May, Matti Vandenberg, Ruven Belk, Iro van Duivenvoort, Nick Landgraf, Robin Glerum, Manuel Lettner, Ryan Kivitsbosch, Yannick Premert, Jory Molema and Nelson Berghaus round out 33 strong drivers. So let's say, give or take, it's 48 horsepower per kart. We're going to have nearly 1,600 horsepower wheels spinning away from the lights when they go out. And if you haven't experienced KZ2 before, believe you me, you are in for a treat. So 2 names of mention that have gone from European or World Cup, World Championship success to Formula One. The most recent, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, won the KZ2 European Championship back in 2023. Max Verstappen, 2013, won at Paul Fletcher International in this category and was a world champion. So this shows that if you want to move into Formula One and you want to go into single-seaters, you need to be in this category. Nearly 1,600 horsepower is starting to line up. And when those lights go out, believe you me, it is going to be a roller coaster ride you will see quickly pass before your eyes. 33 drivers, the last few, now line up. So we wait for the green flag at the back of the field. Green flag is shown. Drivers get themselves steeled and ready. Revs rise. And, well, that might have been the quickest reflex I've seen as Jeffrey Fixer dived to the inside of Jens Ströer through at turn 1 and got the initial race lead. One driver's had a little bit of a drama at the back of it, Emmanuel Mai, but Jeffrey Fixer was like, right, okay, I'm going to mug everybody. I'm not too sure if that might be classed as a jump start, but here goes Jens Ströer through at turn 4. He can't get through. Van der Stroys looks to the outside of the pole sitter, heading down into Chemin de Fer for the first time. But Jeffrey Fixer caught everyone napping, I think. However, as I said, if that was a full start or a jump start, there's a bit of side-by-side through into Escargot. But these drivers will be hitting close to or in excess of 140 kilometres an hour. As up the hill we go on the Maranello chassis. It's Jeffrey Fixer that leads the way. And, well, Renzo Alibax has just gone 141.5 kilometres an hour across the line as Jens Ströer again tries to dive through on the inside of Jeffrey Fixer. A little bit of a nudge between the pair. Fixer drifts wide through turn 2 and Ströer is through to retake the race lead here on lap number 2 as we head through into turn 4. Fixer goes defensive on Van der Stroys through turn 4. Kevin Wagner, unfortunately, has dropped down 10 positions and finds himself all the way down in 32nd position. Julian Carmen is the fastest driver in the opening sector. There's Van der Stroys trying to put the brightness here through out of Escargot on Jeffrey Fixer. And very shortly we'll be completing lap number 2 of this race. And, well, KZ2 incredibly competitive and very, very close when you look at differentials, as in the gaps between drivers. So, after 2 laps, now on lap 3, Jens Ströer leads the way. Jeffrey Fixer, Tommy Van der Stroys, Kevin Stehauer, Daniel Tenbach round out your top 5. Stehauer trying to do the old switchback on Tommy Van der Stroys, who knew that it was not going to be easy for him to get through, but Stehauer, one of the regulars on the chrono karting Dutch scene in KZ2, has got plenty of experience to call upon. Armin Pierle has the fastest lap of the race, 53.726. But look at the gaps. The biggest gap is between 13th and 14th. Armin Pierle and Oscar Steinbach, which was at the best part of about 1.1 seconds. Jens Ströer has a lead of just over 4/10 ahead of Jeffrey Fixer. Tommy Van der Stroys still holding on to that 3rd position. The young man from the Netherlands started from the outside of row number 1 alongside Jens Ströer. Daniel Tenbach also running on the Birolart chassis. He's also one's being occupied by Tommy Van der Stroys. So these laps have quickly gone by. Oh, and we have got drama off of turn number 2. And that is Manuel Lettner from Germany, who was obviously gesticulating to somebody else as if to say, what on earth are you doing? So the German is out of the race so far. Jens Ströer starting to open up a slight advantage. 4 3/4 tenths of a second. Stehauer still keeping Van der Stroy is very, very honest. Armin Peeler gets through on Julian Carmen, another driver that's made his move up into KZ2 this year and is running with Belgium Racing, if I remember correctly, and I think also at the times Sodi Works entry, CPB Sport, Jaden Teen, on his KZ2 debut, funny enough, late last year, managed to get pole position, and it was at the chrono karting. He got the senior title, decided to do KZ2 and put it on pole position at the Home of Champions. Racing, however, for him that weekend didn't go to plan for KZ2, but it still gave him an opportunity to showcase that in qualifying he is a very, very good peddler. So we've had a drama. Dirk van Sifthout and Oscar Steinbach have both tumbled now. And that is... just wondering where that is for Dirk van Sifthout, possibly. But Dirk van Sifthout and Oscar Steinbach, unfortunately, falling way down the order. They really have not had the best run of luck either, those two. I did see a couple of carts in... right, that is off Escargot, I'm afraid. So probably around about turn 10 and 11. So yellow flags are waving, so carts might be at the side. Yeah, Dirk van Sifthout and Oscar Steinbach unfortunately out of the race as we have a minute and a half to go. Sita van Meert now up into 8th position from 10th on the grid. Now has the new fastest lap of the race, 52.345 seconds. So the 640 from Belgium showing good prowess around this 1,366 metre clockwise circuit. But both Van der Stroy and Stehauer running on the Kubica chassis. Of course, a lot of drivers that have either been in Formula 1, who are currently in Formula 1, or are ex-Formula 1 drivers like Daniel Ricciardo, Robert Kubica, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris. I think there are a handful of drivers that do have their own respective kart brand. Fernando Alonso also has one. Nico Rosberg at one point, I think, did as well. The 2016 Formula 1 World Champion with Mercedes at that point, before he decided to promptly retire after getting the top prize in the sport. However, Thomas Cypers is trying to move forward. Just puts in the fastest lap of the race of 52.328. So coming up to what will be more than likely our penultimate lap. We are on lap 8. And at the moment, well, our race leader will not cross the line in time. Jens Tur to give us another 2 laps. So we're going to be on to last lap coming up this time. Jens Tur with a big gap. It's 3/4 of a second. Make that nearly, make that 7/10 of a second as we cross the line for the penultimate time. Jeffrey Fixer second. Tommy van der Stroy, Kevin Stehauer, Daniel Tenbach, Milan van Winden ran out the top 6. Only second and third have either lost or gained a position. The rest of them have stayed in the places where they qualified. And Renzo Alibak's up a place from 8th to 7th. Sita van Meert started 10th. Currently now running P8 ahead of Thomas Cypers. Max Wirtz from Germany up to P10. Biggest mover, Robin Glirum. Bad qualifying, started 28th. Now up 15 positions and is currently 13th. Now time to concentrate on our race leader, who's going to win in a comfortable margin when you consider it in KZ2. It is Jens Tur up the hill, over the crest, and he takes the win. Just under 8/10 of a second ahead of Jeffrey Fixer. Tommy van der Stroy rounds out your top 3 ahead of Ken Stehauer. Daniel Tenbach takes 5th with the top 5 covered by just under 2.8 seconds after 9 laps of racing, just under 12.3 kilometres completed. So Milan van Winden, Renzo Alibaks, Sita van Meert, Thomas Cypers, Max Wirtz ran out your top 10. Armin Piela, Robin Glirum, Julian Carmen, Giovanni Wittwien, and Erik Vess ran out your top 15. Mois Klein, Rick Lewis, Hjalte Borma, Miklan Graf, Ruben Belk ran out your top 20 with Tim Schott, Emmanuel May, Frederick Zebis, Kevin Wagner, Yannick Remmert, Jiro van Duivenvoort, Ryan Kivitsbosch, Mathieu Vandenbroek, Jori Mollema and Nelson Berghaus being the last of the 30 drivers that managed to get to the end of the race. And unfortunately, well, Dirk van Sittard and Oscar Steinbach, looks like they had an incident which took them both out with 5 laps, or 4 laps completed. And Manuel Lettner out on lap 4, turn 2. Jenster takes the win. And up next, well, we go to the second out of 3 qualifying heats. For Senior Max, it's A versus C up next. Well, we are just seconds away from getting going with our second of 3 senior Rotax qualifying heats. There's the man that took the win on the road, Teo Denkovic, 399 from Belgium in the previous heat. And once again, he'll be starting on the outside of the front row. So with regards to seniors, Radenkovic took the win by just over a second in qualifying heats B versus C. There you see some of the other drivers there. Casbos House in the centre of your screen. To his immediate right, Jort van Wyk with Van der Poel kart racing. Normally Jort and Days will run with Dan Holland Racing over in international competitions, so B&L Karting Series, let's say for also instance International Trophy, Euro Trophy, and maybe even MSUK, Motorsport UK British Kart Championships, which recently had the O-Plate take place. Quite a few drivers got post-race penalties. There's Casbos House, the 363. One of the drivers with the team run and operated by father and son duo, Stan Pex and Richard Pex. Stan now turning his hand to rallying these days, a bit like his old man. Also the team that also ran Max Verstappen in his karting days for many a year. A lot of drivers here on this particular grid. We are going to have 29 drivers set to take part in this race. There is 317 of Robbie Stoddart will be looking for a better run this time in Heat 2. For some drivers, this will be the last heat that they compete in, and they'll have to wait to see whether they go through into the top 30 automatically, or whether they have to be in the second chance heats, which will decide the final 6 drivers to go through out of the 44 here this weekend. And Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort, big up the yacht. And then, then the boy's dad goes, Erwin goes, yep, thanks Brandon, go yacht. So there is Crit Knoren, very, very fast as a junior driver, incredibly fast as a senior as well. And there you see the front Nassau panel, the aerodynamic tweaks that have been done. So what used to be a square number plate on that is something a bit more aerodynamic. So Nassau panels have evolved over the years. There's the 323 of France's Ryan Bourguignon, another one that's come through the ranks and has also shown incredible speed at times. But the green flag has waved on the start-finish straight and also at the front of the dummy grid. So 29 senior Rotax drivers, some of which might find they will be in the second chance heat a little bit later on when the third and final heat takes place at just after 10 to 2 this afternoon local time. Here's your grid. Devian Ross and Matej Radenkovic start on the front row with Jort van Wijk and Robbie Slaughter, row number 2. Kaz Boshouse and Crit Knoren round out row 3 with Tay Stevens and Ryan Bourguignon on row 4. Completing the top 10, it's the 321 of Jim Bach and the 312 of Felipe Falk. Jake Menton and Mitch Haynett round out row 6 with Lex Bintons and Colombia's Martin Herrera completing that row. Jack de Kock and Sebastian Koch round out row 8. Julian Klosman and Kevin Navis row 9 with Stain Peters and Jay Zurveld completing the top 20. Rounding out the grid will be as follows: Luca Brima, Sim van Vliet, Scott Westhovens, Rein van der Meer, Matthias Schantz, Dominic Scheppers, Nathan Marichal, Philip Wisniewski, and last but by certainly no means least, Mike van Maastricht. So the drivers now go onto their official formation lap. Ahead of 7 minutes plus an additional lap of racing. Then we'll have KZ2 Masters after this to take us to the lunch break. So red lights are on the starting gantry, and some drivers will have a little bit of a wait after this one until the results have been ratified and confirmed as to who will be going through. Radenkovic, well, will put himself at the intermediate ranking off the heat's lead, so to speak, if he takes 2 wins out of 2, and nobody else could take that away from him. Dominic Scheppers, I think, might be starting down in the dummy grid. So if there's been a technical problem, the cart can't start, or for whatever reason, if repairs might need to be effected, and then that cart will be released once everyone else has gotten underway. If we go to a full start condition, Dominic Scheppers will be left to go. However, the revs are up, the lights are on, and the lights do go out, and we're underway. It's the run down in towards turn 2, 3-4 abreast at points, and it is not going to be an easy one. Matej Radenkovic has lost a big amount of positions. One of the SR Solution carts goes off. That's Julian Klosman in the 373. Oh, 3 wide into turn 4. Oh, dearie me, I nearly had kittens right then. My godfathers. 3 wide into turn 4. I've seen that happen once, maybe twice or 2 or 3 times before, but the person on the outside always gets punted off onto the grass. They just got through by millimetres. I don't know how they did it, but, well, Dominic Shippers is not going to take part in this heat, I'm afraid. That kart has not ventured out onto the circuit. But after the opening lap, it's Devian Rost. Second, it is going to be Kaz Boshouse and Jort van Wyk. Boshouse just got through. Meantime, Tay Stevens just got through on Robbie Stordeur. So that is going to be a change for fourth place. And now up the inside, that's a change for third. So Tay Stevens, another driver that was successful in championship permutations last year, as the 333 gets the slap on the wrist. That is going to be Jort van Wyk. So black and white warning flag for Jort on that particular occasion. Radenkovic at the minute is currently running P7. And, well, no, actually P6. He's right behind Robbie Stordeur. So there's still 5 1/4 minutes in this race, plus an additional lap to go for anything to happen. So Jort van Wyk gets is confirmed. He has got a warning flag from race control. And up through to second position, Tay Stevens through on Kaz Boshouse. And, oh, well, Lex Quintons has just dropped. Now, where has Lex Quintons ended up, I'm wondering? And, well, not been an easy one there for the 384. Tumbled like a stone thrown in a pond from a great height. But Devian Host is keeping his lead. He's starting to slightly expand it. It's just under half a second. Tay Stevens and Kaz Boshouse. Now, Stevens last year ran as a junior. Jort van Wyk's gone purple in sector number 2. Seems like, well, I had a chat with Jort and I said, how's it been going on the Sodi car? He says, I can really do something with this. And I actually find that I love, as much as I love the LN car, I really do like the Sodi. The Sodi is a really, really good vehicle to drive. So possibly complements the driving style, which is why the 333 has just got the fastest lap of the race. 55.038. Leaders now heading in towards Chemin de Fer here at turn 6. And Kaz Boshouse trying to keep Dave Stevens very, very honest. Stevens, in the meantime, is starting to go after Devian Ross for that race lead. Radenkovic, however, has got himself up into P5 and is trying to chase down Jort van Wyk. Now, the gap between them is just under 1.2 seconds. We've got half of the race in terms of time left to go. However, don't count out Radenkovic. If he starts getting the bit between his teeth and the fire lit under his backside, he will push forward. However, that gap has now expanded to 1.2 seconds. Big gaggle of carts just going through into T1. So I think you probably had the likes of, what was it, Jim Back, Robbie Stordeur, Mitch Haynett, Ryan Bourguignon and Jake Menton, all like little piggies in a row. Then you've got, well, there's the 321, Jim Back. Has just got through on Mitch Haynett. Haynett's got back through on him at turn 4. Very fast part of the circuit. You've got to be very, very committed on that one as well. I still remember Matty Higgins coming together with Mike Van Roof when they were both running as juniors a few years ago. And we had very, very different weather conditions. I think that was one of the rounds for the B&L karting series. I think it might have been 2018. I think it was 2019, if I remember correctly. But with 2 minutes and 20 still to go, Devian Ross's lead is coming down. Dave Stevens has got that down to 1/4 of a second. And he's brought along Kaz Boshouse to the party. So Devian Ross might not be out of the woods quite yet with 2 minutes remaining. It's more to the point of how much can Devian Ross hold on for, and how much does Tay Stevens actually want it? Does he want the win? Does he want to make sure that, well, over the course of the race day itself, you know, the finals is where the, Jay Zerveld's just been given a black and white warning flag, so a slap on the wrist there for the 349 from the Netherlands. Where is he at the moment? He's up 8 spots. Good work there. 2 places away from the top 10. But now the top 3 covered by just under half a second. Rust still leads. Stevens second. Boshouse third. Van Wyk. Radenkovic has just put in the new fastest lap of the race, 54.884. And the Belgian currently running in P5. He's about 0.3 of a second ahead of Krit Keur. And they were just in the back of shot there, actually, as they were heading through into turn 4. So, Devian Ross, the fastest driver in Group 2, and was the overall fastest qualified. Now, if Devian Rust picks up the win, he's got to win Heat 3 to put himself on pole position for the pre-final, and the result of the pre-final then determines the grid for the final later on. So, 2 laps to go. Devian Rust's lead now is 0.364 of a second. Dave Stevens, P2. Boshouse has been right on the back bumper of the 382 for lap after lap. Jort van Wyk still about 0.6 behind, but Mateo Radenkovic is closing in on the 333 from Van der Poel Racing. As the timer now will expire in 3, 2, 1. The leader's coming through in towards out of Chemin de Fer and into Escargot. So next time around we'll be on our 9th and final lap. And Radenkovic seems to be closing in sector by sector. He's bringing along Krit Keur along with him. Right, Lex Quintans in 22nd position. He's just been given the warning, black and white warning flag as we go on to the final lap. Quintans currently running 22nd. Unfortunately, started in 13th place and has dropped down the order. Scott Westovens, Scott's has dropped all the way down to 23rd. Now working on his own apparel company, Acceleris Wear, I think it's called, and has been in talks with multiple teams to supply their team clothing. So good on him. But Devian Rust is still holding on to that race lead. Through into Escargot we go for the final time on lap number 9. So through into turn 11. Turn 12, just 13 and 14 to negotiate at full throttle. And up the hill we go for the final time. It is going to be Devian Rust that takes the win. It's not by much, but it's enough. 0.4 of a second after 9 laps of racing. Tay Stevens, Kaz Boshouse and Jort van Wyk ran out your top 4. Mateo Radenkovic got to within 0.2 of being in the top 4 and picks up the fastest lap of the race in the process on lap 9 out of 9, 54.654. Krit Keur, Robbie Storder, Mitch Haynett, Ryan Bourguignon and Felipe Falk round out your top 10. Jim Buck, Jake Menton, Jay Zurveld, Rein van der Meer and Sebastian Koch round out your top 15. With Kevin Navis, Luca Prima, Martin Herrera, Lex Quintans and Matthias Schantz round out your top 20. Stain Peters, Nathan Marischal, Scott Westovens, Mike van Maastricht, Philip Wisniewski, Jack de Kock, Sian van Vliet and Julian Klosman rounded out the 28 runners and riders, and unfortunately Dominic Shepherd's in the 307 was a non-starter. Just one more race to go before we go to the lunch break. Up next, it's the qualifying heat for KZ2 Masters. So we return to gearbox action as KZ2 Masters are the stars of the show. They are front and centre, and it's a good old bump start and a push them along and kick the engine into life as we head out for the qualifying heat for KZ2 Masters. We've got 22 drivers, and after time qualifying this morning, Thierry Del Rey has put it on pole position, and he's going to be accompanied by the man who's been inactive behind the wheel of a gearbox car for the last 4 months, Jeroen Bos, who 4 months ago had right knee surgery, was on crutches for 6 weeks, and now, well, it's going to be a 9-lap race, Jeroen, so hopefully your head will not fall off your shoulders. They line up on the front row of the grid. And, well, it's the two drivers that were competing for the Chrono Karting KZ2 Masters title last year. They line up on row 2. Last year's runner-up, Wesley Duval, lines up on the inside on P3. And last year's champion, Glenn Vandenhoek, will be on 4th on the outside of row number 2. Neki Berheri and Erik Angenent will be on row number 3. Buzz Steen and Jeremy Sebastian Horda will round out row 4. Completing the top 10 will be William Klooster and Yannick Wielainen in the 799. Mickey Bertram and William van der Kai round out row 6, with Kevin Delcroix and Niels Koster, part-time DJ, rounding out row 7. Natalie Kreitz and Martin Versteeg round out row 8, with Benno Ridder and Niels Berler rounding out row 9. Completing the final 2 rows are the following drivers: Alexander Homerson, Christian Breiter, Chris van der Broek and Mark Verhoeven rounding out the grid. Unfortunately, Mark only completed 2 laps in timed qualifying and found himself nearly 6.5 seconds down off of Thierry Del Rey. Now, Mark will definitely try and get his way up the order. It's going to be 7 minutes plus an additional lap, which will give us round about 9 laps of racing if we do not have any full course yellows or any stoppages of some sort. But once again, like KZ2 earlier on, it will be standing start. Also, in addition to some of the tidbits, I found out that Kimi Antonelli won the KZ2 FIA European Championship back in 2023. Max Verstappen winning the World Crown back in 2013. Well, Liam Lawson actually competed in KZ2 in New Zealand at the Kartsport Hamilton track back in 2024. So it just goes to show that this category is very, very physically demanding. So, green flag at the back. We're set and ready. And the lights are out, and, well, it's off we go. Thierry Del Rey gets mugged by Jeroen Bos, and I think that might have been possibly Glenn Vandenhoek going around the outside. And it was Glenn Vandenhoek who got through. Wesley Duval finds himself in P3. So, Jeroen Bos leads the field coming out of turn 3 and into turn 4 for the first time. And a bit of concertinaing just outside of the top 10. But a good start by Jeroen Bos. There's Thierry Del Rey. Oh, and already someone's come a cropper. I'm wondering if that might be Chris Vandenbroek in the 722. That's odd. I haven't seen that. Well, that was actually coming out of turn 3. Before the cart slamming into the tyre barriers on the left-hand side on the run-up to it. As Thierry Del Rey is starting to nibble at the heels like a little Yorkshire Terrier on the back of Jeroen Bos. Up the inside goes the man from TD Official Kart Racing, his own team, his own chassis, and Jeroen Bos Hang on a second. What was that from Thierry Del Rey? Just hit the brakes, pumped it. Yellow flags into turn 3. So no overtaking. So Thierry Del Rey put the brakes on. The back end did a little bit of a step, left and right. Maybe trying to do a bit of a KZ2 Samba, let's say. But he kept it in front of Jeroen Bos, who's back down to second position. So the natural order of things as it was, apart from P3 now in the hands of Glenn van den Hoek, who has got Wesley Duval, who was running on a barrel last year. This year now has switched to Maranello machinery. And he's not too far behind him. Eric Angenent in the number 765. Nicky Berhene, Bastien, Sebastian Roda, William Kluster and Mickey Bertram round out your top 10 at the minute. So fastest lap of the race, Thierry Del Rey, 53.873. As Wesley Duval is reigniting that rivalry we saw all the way through last season for Chrono Karting 2024. And I'm looking forward to seeing it again because I'll be joining the commentary team that will comprise of not just myself, but Jeroen Blekemolen, I think it's Nick Winkelman and Kieran McGinley will also be joining the team for one of the rounds in Kaupen in the height of summer this year in June. But Thierry Del Rey has scarpered into the distance. I think Jeroen Bos is just trying to mitigate his fitness disadvantage that he has. And Thierry has put in a new fastest lap of the race, 53.274. And his gap now is 1.85 seconds and climbing. We are on lap number 4 of the race. Glenn van den Hoek holding on to P3. Wesley Duval closing him in. And the good thing was, between these two drivers, what I saw was complete and utter sporting respect between the pair. They both gave as good as they got. They both, went up against each other out on track like they're doing now. And it was never easy. You have to put that friendship or mutual respect to one side to an extent. You can't always have your cake and eat it. It's a bit like when you look at the relationship in Formula 1 between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Very, very good friends. They do a lot of sim racing together. They both live in Monte Carlo. They're both good friends off track. But of course, you have to wonder what was going through the minds between the pair of them off track when they were competing in rival camps for a prestigious title. But we've got just over 2 minutes and 40 plus an additional lap to go. And more to the point, well, Glenn van den Hoek doing very, very well, keeping Wesley Duval at bay for that third place. But Thierry Del Rey is now just putting on a bit of a masterclass. He's been known, he's been so competitive. If anyone might have seen the move he did on Mark Schuckmann, that both myself and Joop Briefeld jumped out of our seats in the commentary box for, when he went round the outside, bumped it down at about 130 kilometres an hour in 6th gear, all the way down to first, put the anchors on, threw it round the outside. Good old Slim Shady, job done. Unfortunately, Chris van den Broek is out of the race, retired pretty much on the opening lap, I think. Well, he was the one that was actually off and into the barriers, off the approach onto turn number 4. Biggest mover, Benno Ridder, has moved up from 17th at the start, now currently runs P14 ahead of Niels Koster. Nathalie Kreitz has moved up 2 places. She started 15th, now 13th on the road. And it has been the Thierry Del Rey masterclass at the moment, to be completely honest with you. He has really not put a foot wrong. Eric Angenent just went purple in Sector 3. I think Wesley Duval is the fastest driver over the speed trap so far. I've seen speeds, I think just now 134, 137 kilometres an hour. So it's quite a lot when you think about it in terms of pure pace that these drivers are doing over the course of the race weekend. I mean, 137 kilometres an hour is 85 miles per hour. That's quite quick when you think about it. Thierry Del Rey, 135.7. Jeroen Bos, 136.4. 138.5 for Wesley Duval. That's nearly 86 miles an hour. As we are coming down to the final couple of moments of this race. These drivers hitting over, as I said, over 130 plus kilometres an hour. And when your backside is literally millimetres from the ground, and your backside is telling you exactly what you need to do, how the kart needs to react to your inputs and the like. But as Thierry Del Rey makes his way through Escargot, the timer now will expire. One more lap that will bring us to the lunch break. There is the man himself, the number 703, the man behind the TD Kart brand and also the TD Kart racing team that he owns and operates. And it's so good to see him once again back in the saddle. And I'm going to see him compete over the course of this season. The final lap is underway. Thierry Del Rey leading by 3.9 seconds. Ahead of Jeroen Bos, Glenn van den Hoek, Wesley Duval, and also Erik Angenens. Angenens been running pretty consistently on lap pace. So pretty impressive to see. Now rounding out the top 10 is we've got Marshall post, I think that's post 12. We might have a yellow flag. Now could that possibly be for Marco Hoover? That's Kevin Delacroix. It's Kevin Delacroix that's gone off circuit, possibly. So we've had a yellow flag out at Marshall post 12. But let's concentrate on the man who's going to win this qualifying heat. Up the hill for the final time, it's going to be Thierry Del Rey that takes the win. And it's going to be by a monster margin, 4.063 seconds. Ahead of Jeroen Bos, Glenn van den Hoek, Wesley Duval and Erik Angenent ran at your top 5. Nicky Perheny in 6th. Then Bas Steen, William Klooster, Sebastian Holder and William van der Kaai makes it to run at the top 10. Vicky Bertram, Jannik Verheyen, Nathalie Kreitz, Niels Koster and Martin Versteeg round out your top 15 with Benno Ridder, Christian Breiter, Alexander Homerson with Mark Verhoeven just crossing the line to finish 19th. Unfortunately, Kevin Delacroix retiring with a couple of laps ago with Niels Burler and Chris van den Broek out of the race. Chris not even making it past turn 4, lap number 1. But Thierry Del Rey winning by a country margin. It's like he scampered over the French border before we'd even realised with that winning margin. But that concludes the KZ2 Master Qualifying Heats, and with it concludes the morning action here at Captain Defang International Raceway for the opening round of not just Rotax Max Challenge Belgium for 2025, but also the first round of the Benefit League for 2025. And you can see, just going to have a little look at the replays here. This is the move when Thierry Del Rey used all his skill and wit and prowess to dive up the inside of Jeroen Bos, and from that point onwards, he did not look back. It's a case of Van den Hoek and Duval keeping their battle, resuming into 2025. There he is, the winner, Thierry Del Rey from the TD official kart racing team, taking the win. So really, that concludes the morning's action here at Karting Defang International Raceway for the first round out of 3 for RMC Belgium. Also the first of 2 rounds of the Benefit League for 2025. We're going to go to the lunch break now, but join us afterwards. We've got the pre-finals for all other classes. We've got the final heat for senior Rotax. Then we'll go into the business end with the finals a little bit later on. So, big thank yous to everyone watching. This stream is powered by WFR Live TV. We'll see you after the lunch break for more karting action here from Southern Belgium.